Aesthetic Governance and the Managed Obsolescence of the West, Notes Toward a Theory of Spectral Hegemonies. Dr. P. Invertus and ChatGPT, Institute for Synthetic Semiotics and Post-Collapse Aesthetics, unaccredited abstract. This paper considers the transformation of governance, aesthetics, and epistemic authority in the post-simulacral condition of the contemporary West, drawing on Deleuze and Guattari's anti-structuralist ontology, Anti-Oedipus, 1000 Plateaus, alongside insights from Chomsky, 1997, on linguistic engineering, and Baudrillard's 1994 theory of simulation. We interrogate the increasingly spectral nature of Western institutional legitimacy in an era of managed decline. The paper advances the thesis that cultural production under late-necrocapitalism functions not merely as superstructure, but as behavioral architecture within a broader matrix of algorithmic psychopolitics. Through a synthesis of post-critical theory, speculative sociology, and deterritorial aesthetics, we propose a framework for understanding Western freedom as a mode of hypermediated complicity. 1. The terminal aesthetics of governance. Following Rancière's delineation of the distribution of the sensible, we assert that Western liberal democracies have ceased to govern in any traditional sense. Instead, they perform governance as aesthetic ritual, curated primarily through social media optics and mediated crisis management. Politics is now subsumed by affective branding. The state becomes a kind of curator of visibility, rather than an agent of structural transformation. Here, we see the true convergence of Debord's spectacle and Foucault's disciplinary society, a society of visibility without substance, of accountability without responsibility. Academia as epistemic laundromat. Within this context, academic institutions, especially in the arts and humanities, have become ideological filtration systems. Their role is not to challenge systems of power, but to soft encode them into new aesthetic registers. Following Bourdieu's analysis of cultural capital, we suggest the post-2000 university exists not to generate knowledge, but to simulate critique through a filter of careerist virtue signaling. The emergence of para-academic influencer scholars, whose legitimacy is derived from TED-style semi-philosophical posturing, represents the capture of theory by marketing. Unhammer 3. The Banksification of dissent. Here we return to the figure of Banksy, understood not as artist, but protocol. The Banksy narrative offers an ideal case study in the domestication of subversion through anonymous commodification. That his anti-establishment works are auctioned at Sotheby's with glee and reported on uncritically by liberal media illustrates the total institutional absorption of even the semblance of critique. In the terms of Zizek, 2012, this is ideology par excellence. Dissent that reinforces the very structures it ostensibly opposes. Culture as behavioral algorithm. As Deleuze, 1992, presciently noted, we have transitioned from disciplinary societies to control societies. Within the latter, subjectivity is modulated continuously by algorithms that reward docility, banality, and repetition. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube do not merely reflect culture, they produce it, generating micro-hegemonies through trend loops and engagement metrics. What was once called the self is now a residual statistical event in the feedback loops of attention capitalism. Her 5. The emotionalization of neoliberal power. The weaponization of affect is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of contemporary social control. Following Berardi, 2011, the neoliberal subject is no longer governed through coercion, but through emotional exhaustion. Woke capitalism operates by colonizing trauma and selling back its management. Identity, once a vector for collective organization, is now a bundle of marketing data. This is what we term empatho-authoritarianism, a regime in which performative care masks systemic cruelty. Conclusion. Toward the necropolitical singularity. If Agamben's Homo Sacer, 1998, marked the figure of exclusion within sovereign power, we now face a broader dynamic, the social body itself rendered obsolete. The West, in engineering its own irrelevance, seeks to obscure its decay through aestheticized crisis, manufactured dissent, and algorithmic pacification. We are not facing a civilizational decline, but a managed obsolescence of meaning itself. As automation, synthetic cognition, and ecological collapse converge, the final performance of Western hegemony may be to stage its own disappearance as liberation.